Israel is at war. We didn't want this war. It was forced upon us in the most brutal and savage way.
One of the biggest fears in the world since the beginning of this war between Israel and Hamas militants has been that the war would spill over into another country. Carlos, because Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's announcement that we will bring a new order to the Middle East made everyone shudder. The feared was finally realized. Come on, let's see what's going on together. The Iranian-backed Hezbollah has fired guided missiles and artillery shells at the disputed Sheba Farms border area. This made the Israeli army very angry. After that, the Israeli army launched artillery attacks on the Lebanese border, which is patrolled by the United Nations. Israel's breakthrough here has been great. A journalist from Beirut explained that Lebanese political parties have been watching Israel's war against Hamas and have called on Hezbollah not to get involved in this war. Immediately after that, the Iranian-backed Hezbollah announced that it had opened missile and artillery fire on 3 Israeli-controlled areas in the Golan Heights. This has made everything even more heated. No casualties were reported following this attack. Earlier yesterday, the Israeli military said it opened artillery fire on an area of Lebanon where cross-border mortar fire was launched. In statements to the press, the Israeli military warned Hezbollah not to get involved in the conflict with Hamas. The Israeli military announced yesterday afternoon that it had deployed troops against a suspected leak from Lebanon. A local radio station stated that this happened in the central part of the country's borders. In the north of Israel, Palestinian Hamas militants, who organized a mass infiltration from the Gaza Strip, brought tensions to nirvana. In a statement, the Israeli military said it had received a report from Lebanese territory that a number of suspects had infiltrated into Israeli territory. Currently, Israeli soldiers are stationed in this area. Israel's army radio gave the location of the attack as close to Adamit, opposite the Lebanese border towns of Alma al-Cheib and Zahadra. Shortly after all this, along the Israeli-Lebanese border, 4 Palestinian militants brutally broke through the fence and infiltrated Israeli territory. As a result of the infiltration of Palestinian militants into Israeli territory, the Israel Defense Forces had a quick response to these militants. During the mutual fire, 2 of the Palestinian spies were killed. One of these Palestinian militants also fled to Lebanese territory. The Israeli military unit later announced that the deputy commander of the 300th Brigade, Lieutenant Colonel Alim Abdullah, had been killed by the militants. In addition, at least 5 Israeli soldiers were injured for various reasons. This painful loss of its soldiers has shaken Israel very deeply. The Lebanese militant group Hezbollah, on the other hand, denied that it had anything to do with the operation. The Israeli military unit took immediate action in response to the violation, killing a large number of militants who crossed into Israeli territory. The Israeli army, which is already still experiencing the pain of its losses, did not give the militants any opportunity to escape. The Israeli army has deployed helicopters to ensure the security of this area. It is expected that more details about this place will be revealed at this time. In response to the violation, an Israeli military unit carried out airstrikes on 3 military positions belonging to the Hezbollah terrorist organization, including 2 observation posts and an emergency decoy point. In addition, the Israeli army opened artillery fire on the area. Meanwhile, 2 mortar bombs decamped from Lebanese territory in northern Israel. After that, an alarm was raised throughout Israel. There were no casualties as one of the mortar bombs launched into Israeli territory fell on Lebanese territory. Schools in southern Lebanon will be closed tomorrow due to rising tensions, according to Lebanese media. The Israeli military has confirmed that a senior Israeli officer was killed in a clash with militants on the Lebanese border yesterday. The Israeli military has released that soldiers and aircraft have killed 2 militants who entered Israeli territory. The Israeli military said the dead militants were members of Hamas. Later, at least 3 militants from the Lebanese Hezbollah movement were killed during the army's attack on areas in Lebanon in response to mortar fire. And right now, a breaking news story has been announced. Hamas has specifically threatened to attack the Israeli city of Ashkelon in response to Israeli attacks on Gaza. In a post on Telegram, Hamas announced that residents of the city, just north of the Gaza Strip, should leave the city by 17 Nazar's local time. The Israeli military said that more than 4,500 rockets have been fired from Gaza into Israel since the weekend. After all this, Egypt closed the Rafah border crossing due to Israeli shelling. Anyway, in order to cross this border, I need a list with your name on it. Despite the long queues and procedural problems, the closure of this gate once again shows the extent of events. These attacks have been extremely destructive on both sides. A very short time ago, Israel was shaken again. The rocket attack on Sderot has shaken the Israelis badly. This attack made the Israeli army very angry. Israel immediately responded to this attack, and Hamas militants suffered a huge loss. The Israeli army has achieved a nice success in the fire it has opened on the militants. Hamas militants have lost 2 of their top officials. We have seen in the recent past in the war on the territory of Ukraine what the loss of an official can cost in wartime. More armed men entered Israel through breaches in the wires designed by Israel to bring Hamas under control. Israelis cannot believe that it has taken so long for their army to regain control of the territory and villages along the border with Gaza. One unit made a request for a drone on social media, while others asked for sleeping bags and food. Israel's army is strong and has the capacity to repel Hamas, but its failure to achieve this so far reinforces the belief that the country's lavishly funded and prestigious military and intelligence agency should have stopped a disaster and has not done so. Some accusations are being directed at Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Israel is still sharply divided over Netanyahu, whose government's far-right agenda has sparked months of protests. But citizens of all political views are rallying behind their flag. The protests were suspended while Israel was officially at war. Even reservists who refused to serve in Israel are now lining up to return. Israelis are collectively experiencing the shock of the Hamas attack. The extent of the blood that Hamas has inflicted on Israel is unprecedented. An organization that plans its attacks so carefully will be aware that Israel's reaction will be harsh. The presence of about 100 hostages in the attack will complicate Israel's war plans. However, according to a cabinet leak in the Israeli press, a cabinet minister explained that this should not prevent them. Now both sides are in unknown territory. Facing Israel now are both Hamas militants and its most formidable enemy, the powerful Iranian-backed Lebanese militia group, Hezbollah. The prospect of entering a two-front war is Israel's strategic nightmare. On the other hand, some developments are emerging. According to Ali Baraka, the director of national relations abroad of the Gaza militant group, Iran was not notified before the surprise attack by Hamas on Israel. Baraka said that it was a surprise for everyone, including Iran. Baraka said the operation came as a surprise to Iran like everyone else. Of course, there is no basis for all these explanations yet. It looks like all this is going to get even more complicated. Stay tuned for developments. Thank you for watching us.